Relax, the press box is closed, but the mic is just getting warmed up. Welcome to the Hockey Writers Inc. Join your host, Ron, as we talk all things Philadelphia Flyers and Lehigh Valley fandom. Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to the next episode of the Hockey Writers Inc. with a very special guest host. That's right, folks. We got one of the best in the land, Isaiah from O&B Puck. Hey, how you doing, brother?
How you doing? How's everybody doing tonight?
Oh man. I'll tell you what, we're fired up. Look, I couldn't think of a better person to sit down and have a quick little round table than from the O&B Puck guys because look, you guys always have the guest. You guys always have your finger on the pulse of what's going on. You're ranked one of the top 15 Philadelphia Flyers podcast for all of them. I mean, you guys are in the top 10, right? So, boom, right?
Hey, we try to do the best we can. We're a little bit older than most of the people. I don't know. Sometimes that counts for us. Sometimes it counts against us. I don't know.
Yeah, but see, it's all about the quality stuff that's going on over there at O&B Puck with you and Chef and Dan and all the great guests that you guys have. You guys have usually the people that are tied directly into the Flyers, Jason Martinez, Bill Meltzer, you know what I mean? Anthony's on the show a lot, you know what I mean? You've had Russ on quite a few times, you know what I mean? So you guys are always plugged in. You're one of the only shows out there that I plug, that I support, that I listen to. Right. So you guys got to hop on over to O&B Puck. Get yourselves subbed up, man. Make sure you get them all going on there. We'll have all the links here in the description and everything for you guys to get all subbed up. But I wanted to get Isaiah to come in here and talk Flyers, like a state of the Flyers kind of thing. We're past halfway. We're rounding that corner now where the Olympic break is just a few games away. The Flyers had a little road trip, came home for a game, and then are going to be on the road for a little bit here, and then we're going to have Olympic break. And I wanted to get Isaiah's take on the team and where he feels things are as far as that's concerned. So thank you, Isaiah, for dropping in here, man, and taking the time out, man, to spend with this pokey little hockey show here about the Flyers, the Hockey Writers thing. Thank you, sir.
No, it's my pleasure.
Awesome. All right, so let's dive in here, folks. Philadelphia is kind of more than a couple of games out of points. They're out of the wild card. They're not even in the wild card race. You know, they're fourth in the wild card race. You know what I mean? They're what, 7 points
Well, they're four
out of.
points out of third in the Metro and 8 points out of wild card spot. Of course, that'll change tonight. Everything will shift around like
Right, right,
musical
right,
chairs.
right, right,
But
right,
yeah, that's kind of like where they're at right now.
right,
Yeah.
right. Right. That's yeah. That's what I'm getting at, right? So overall, did you expect the team to be where they are now, or did you expect them to be better or worse?
Well, if you asked me that before their losing streak, I would say they're doing better. But maybe this losing streak combined with some untimely injuries and things that were somewhat predictable in goal in terms of the questions about Vladar and his durability and the general questions about whether Sam Urson has ever really been the same goalie since he had to carry the load back in 24. It's I guess in the aggregate, it's really no surprise. They're outside looking in, and their chances of making a playoffs dwindle with every loss. And we'll be taking a close look in these next, what is it, 5 games before the February 4th Olympic break.
Yeah, exactly. And some key games. I mean, the Islanders game I thought was a key game. Do you know, especially coming off beating the Avalanche? Do you know what I mean? Like I really felt that that was a game that they really need to have, and it was just like they kind
Yeah,
of were phoning it in there on that one. I think.
4 point game, just killer, absolute killer. That's those are kind of like if they lose to LA on Saturday, that's rough. But losing to the Islanders when they're right in the division and in conference, it's just a killer. I've had some people already say to me they should be selling, and then it gets to the question, okay, what are they going to be selling? But I don't want to get too far afield.
Yeah. No. Well, one of the things that we're going to talk about here, and so that's what I want to touch on here. One of the things that I want to touch on, kind of all the areas here, just briefly about this Philadelphia Flyers team. So let's start off with the thing that you mentioned at the very beginning, and that's goaltending. Okay, and we all thought coming into this year that Darth Vladar was going to be, the starter. He appeared to be the starter. He came out with hot, was the hot guy, was doing really well, had a really high save percentage, was winning games, was shutting guys out. You know what I mean? Didn't have any shootout or any shutouts or anything like that. And then Harrison was like, eh, he would kind of okay, and then he would get in the shootout, and then once he started losing in the shootout for Harrison, right? So then we've had both goaltenders have a little stretch where they were injured, you know. So, I mean, clearly Harrison is not going to be the wave of the future. Would you agree with that statement?
Yeah, I think Erson's in his last year with the Philadelphia Flyers. If they know what they're, if they're confident as a front office, I don't see any way he's going to be with the Flyers next year. So, I mean, we get into specifics about his performance, but yeah, I would agree with that.
Okay. All right. And aside from some of Lidar's availability, have you liked what we've seen from him so far?
Yes, I think Vladar, the availability question obviously is there, but I mean, he's like an A-minus performance so far. Whereas Urson would have been an F, but because he savaged the games on the road that basically saved the season, I moved him up to a D-minus. If for looking at a grade. Overall, their goaltending is like a C-minus, mainly really dragged down
Yeah.
by the
Yeah.
the typical Kolosov start that we saw: 3 shots, 3 goals, and then of course the rest of it is Sam Urson. You know,
Yeah. Yeah. Okay. All right. See, so we're at least we're all see. This is what I mean. Uh, you and I usually see pretty eye to eye on kind of where the state of this team is as far as that's concerned. As far as the goaltending is concerned. Okay, so something you mentioned about potentially being buyers. There's not really any going to be any goaltenders available in this cycle.
oh
I
well,
mean,
if we're talking about like in
without
season,
yeah, like for trade
no,
deadline or anything like that, right?
probably not.
Yeah, you're not going to get anything this year.
No.
You're not okay. Okay, so that's what I wanted to ask. You don't think we're going to get anything this year? This is going to have to be an off-season thing for Harrison because his contract's going to come to an end and everything like that,
Yeah, I
right?
mean, it's like if goals saved above suspected, expected, not suspected, suspected,
Yeah,
he'd really be buried.
wait.
No, I mean, he's like minus 15.1. And if it weren't for the Ottawa goaltenders and Jordan Binnington, he'd be in the bottom of the league. He's considered among the worst goaltenders in the league. And he's appeared in 23 games. So there's really, they're just going to have to ride it out with him, and they'll evaluate Kolosov. And I have no doubt that next year they're going to want to bring in someone to partner with Vladar, assuming Vladar can stay healthy enough to keep his level up. Yeah.
I've really liked what I've seen from the guys down in the Phantoms. I've really liked Alexi. I've really liked Bjorn. I really liked how they've played in goal down there with the Phantoms. I I wouldn't have a problem with either one of those guys. I mean, probably more Alexei than you know what I mean, but I wouldn't have a problem with any one of those guys being part of that for next year. Do you know what I
Oh,
mean, or
oh,
do you
I
not
don't, I'm
think?
gonna, well, here was going to draw a real distinction. I don't think Alexei Kolosov has impressed in his brief NHL stints. I guess it was okay in that first relief stint that he did. I think it was a relief stint,
Yeah,
and
I think
but that
three
Ranger
games. I think
game,
something. Yeah,
they didn't support him
no.
on two of those goals. But that second goal, which is right inside the blue line, a shot that was unscreened. I mean, that's like something from 1968 with the no equipment. It's and no mask. I
You know,
mean, it really
stand in front of it. You can
yeah,
see it from way. You know.
it was really just I can't go in. And
Yeah.
it just was like a hello, you don't really have an NHL alternative. I don't know how Alexei Kolosov is really going to turn it here. I'm kind of critical at this point with looking at their coaching um, in a couple areas of organization, and maybe when we're wrapping up, we can get to that. But no, Bjarnason's a kid who's very raw. He needs a
Yeah.
whole other year in the
Yeah.
AHL. Now
Yeah.
they're going to get a veteran of some type, or maybe they'll go for Devin Levi and they'll give him a chance and they'll trade for him. Maybe that'll happen. I don't know, but they're going to do something. I think it will probably be a veteran, not Devin Levi. Although I wouldn't be surprised if they did try to trade him in a deal where I don't know, Kolosov is not in the picture one way or another.
Okay. Okay.
That's how I
All
feel
right.
about it.
Okay. All right. So, but overall, you think goaltending has been like a C minus just
C
because of.
minus, yeah, yeah, yeah.
All right. Okay. Let's get to everybody's favorite. And I want to talk about this just because I think this coincides with exactly what we just talked about, and that's the special teams. Um, their power play is ranked 30th, which is two from last, and their penalty kill is ranked 20th, which they had a stretch there for a while. They were like what in the top 10?
Something like that, yeah.
Yeah, for the penalty kill, right? And they went
Mhm.
like 7 or 8 games in a row there where they didn't even allow a power play goal, and so I mean that had a lot to do with some of the goaltending I think as well too. But talk to me, Isaiah, about the power play and your thoughts on that.
Well, I wrote a couple pieces for Flyers Nitty Gritty um, about where the Flyers are at during that streak, and another one where I talked about what could work, how could what the Flyers approach, how could it work out, and I covered on the first one about the power play. It's been a last or second or third from the last in for 5 years rolling, and it really haven't been the same since they fired Joey Mullen, and it's almost like the curse of Joey Mullen. The power play is an F. I know we've seen some signs of life recently. They're moving the puck. Guys are
Well,
moving around. They're not so stationary. But until you start producing actual goals and results, I know they had a couple in the what was it, Colorado game, or was it Utah?
yeah,
I forget which
yeah.
one. Certainly nothing on against the Islanders. Yeah, it's an F. It's an F. You can't be 30th when you've been 32nd. They went for 3 years. They were last 3 years in
Yeah.
a row.
Yeah.
It's a joke. It's
Yeah.
just yeah, F.
Thank you. See, thank you. I'm glad you said that. It's a joke. Even though Trevor Zegras has got 16 power play goals, I mean, okay, that's great, but you're just not. You're just.
I don't think he has 16 power play goals.
Wait.
He might have 16 power play points.
Okay.
He has
Yeah.
7 power play goals.
Yeah. That's right. That's right. 16 power play points. I'm sorry, my
That's
mistake.
okay.
I blurred that one. Sorry. Yeah, but he has 16 power play points. So I mean, that's all fine and great, but eh, that's not really. And the addition of him has been kind of, some of like what you just said, some of the good things that we've seen. But for the most part, man, at this point in time in the season, and you're still scraping the bottom of the barrel for power play, yeah, that's an F for me all day long.
Well, just think about it. Just think if they were middling in the power play, or if they were like 16th, and they're like
You don't
five
even have to
percentage
be
points
that
ahead.
high. You could be 20th.
Well, I'm just saying how many more points they would have had. Because it's not only the quantitative aspect of you have a goal and that you would have won the game or you wouldn't have had to go to overtime, so you would have had the extra point. It's the qualitative. It's the it's how frustrating it is and how the carryover emotionally. It really brings a team down when they just know, like, it's almost like we should turn it down. We're playing better 5 on 5, and it's a downer. You know.
Can you turn down a penalty? Can you turn down? I mean, you're like,
Uh,
nah, that's okay, man. Put the guy back out on the ice, and we're
Now
cool.
off the face off, just slash somebody, get thrown off. Yeah,
Yeah, right. Yeah, and make it 4-on-4 or
and
whatever, right?
they all hail a exhale a sigh of relief. Oh God, that power play is out, so it's
Yeah,
not going to
right.
sap our momentum in the game. Yeah, that's how bad the
Oh
power play
man.
is.
Yeah, it is. It really is bad. It's like, okay. All right, so now let's talk about the penalty kill, which is ranked 20th. And like I said before, there were stretches where they were ranked in the top 10 as far as the penalty kill. And your assessment on the penalty kill there for the Flyers.
Yeah, it's like a C minus. Overall, their special teams like a D plus this year because it's just totally dragged down. I think the penalty kill is more exciting now that they've activated Tippett. You think about Owen Tippett is one of the guys on the team that really benefited most from Tocchet being the coach, and utilizing him on the penalty kill makes the other teams wary. They make one mistake, he's going to be able to accelerate as like in the top 5 percentage points of the league in terms of his ability to go from 0 to 60. And I think it's that in and of itself makes the opposition a little more tentative.
Now you have two guys because Konechny is another one who is a threat on the penalty kill because how many shorthanded goals did he have last year? Now this year the shorthanded goals have considerably dropped off, but he's had quite a few breakaways to where he's been the threat. You know what I mean? So, but I
Mhm.
do like that as well too, with having Tippett being that one sitting back there to be that threat as well too on the shorthand too and activating him. But overall, the special teams are kind of in the tank,
Mm. Yeah.
right? Okay. With that being said, let's talk about the defense of the Philadelphia Flyers. Now, the defense has probably been the hardest hit with the injury bug because Risto started the year on the injured reserve, came back like almost just about halfway, played for a couple games and then sat for another week or so or whatever, and now he's supposed to be back, right? And you've had Drysdale sit for a while, you've had York sit for a while. I mean, you've had some key injuries to guys, and you've had some kind of a swinging, rotating door there for defense for the Flyers. What kind of assessment can you give about that?
Well, I would say until recently, that was one of the strong points of the team: the starting goaltending and the defensive, at least the top four. But over time, because these defensemen are not slotted properly, these are mainly second pair defenseman types. I could see Sandheim being a complementary first pair. That's really about it. And
Yep.
because they're taking on harder minutes than they probably should, I
Hmm.
think they're eroding the play. The break really is going to benefit probably the defense more than anybody. Say the injured, whoever might be injured, like somebody like Vladar. Uh, but
Well, Obels is probably going to be. I mean, that just. I mean, I
yeah, we
feel for
could
the
see him
man.
in late March, maybe. But I'm not.
Maybe.
Yeah, I mean that's maybe it's, but he's not. He's not a significant player. I mean, they need a fourth line center, and that's all well and good. But I mean, getting back to the defense, I would just say that I it's It's an look. The Flyers are an average team, really, when you think about it. They have the least amount of regulation wins. This side of Columbus, of all the teams that have mathematically have a chance to make the playoffs, and defense was a part of what was positive, but the breakdowns, and it's not all the forwards. It's not all of Konecny's giveaways, which are legion. I mean, that's unbelievable. They mount up. Yeah, I wish I had $1 for every one of his giveaways. That Yeah, I'd be on double retirement. But anyway,
Right?
yeah, right.
Yeah,
So
we,
yeah, the problem is it's just not getting a lot of offense, and it's the slotting, it's the quality of it's the level of player. They're fine. They're just like they're nice players, but I think that Andre's fallen off because I think the condensed schedule has really hurt the Flyers. If you think about it, defense is
absolutely,
a lot of wear and tear. Then if you add to
absolutely.
the fact that you have the schedule what it is, and the guys aren't really in slotted properly. So
Yeah,
then you're taking more minutes and the type of minutes as well. So it's
yeah,
quantity and quality, and it's not working out. I mean,
yeah,
it's
yeah,
they really need somebody who can handle those minutes and maybe a third pair guy that can kill some penalties. You have Sealer, but they also, more than anything, they need somebody on the power play. So I really can't. They're, they're kind of average. There's
yeah,
some nice players, but because they're
yeah.
in the wrong role, I just think they're an average core
Okay, okay.
with a
So
lot of
you're
potential.
okay. All right, I'll take
If
that.
put in the right spot, and with
Yeah,
the right minutes, quantity and quality, I think it could be accelerated.
I agree. I agree 100%. There's some guys I would change around and not play as many minutes as they are playing, and change it around and play some guys a little bit more minutes because I think the more minutes they play, the better off they're going to be. And they're just not playing those minutes. You know what I mean? So, and there's guys that are playing more minutes than they should, and they're making more mistakes, and they're being more of a liability to the team instead of being helpful to the team, So,
Mhm.
all right. So you're great on the defense.
I see.
See,
Really no offense. There's nobody's a threat from the blue line at all. That the other
no,
teams are worried about killing their power play,
yeah, they
and
they have very little
they
points, very little
they're
goals,
wearing
very
down.
little. Yeah, I
I think
agree.
if it weren't for the break, they'd really be in trouble.
I agree because it's going to come right at a time when they're almost worn down to the nub. I mean, all these guys that have been sitting, and the fact that Philadelphia is now with Obels being hurt, I think only going to dress 3 players to go to the Olympics. I think it's going to kind of be a good thing for the Flyers. You know,
Mhm.
that's going to give those guys that time to rest. So all right. The offense. Well, some injuries have happened there. Some call ups have happened there. Tyson Forster sitting for the rest of the year. That's a big hurt, I think, because I feel he was one of those guys that was benefiting from Tocchet being the coach.
Mhm.
I believe he was on the cusp of doing some of those good things right when he got hurt. So that's kind of a bummer. But thoughts on the offense? Uh,
Well, I they have some playmakers. Again, the issue here is their center ice is so weak. They just don't have top six. They don't have a second line center.
no,
Zegras can play center in name only, but he just defensively is not what they need to be.
no.
What they need for him to be. Their offense is no more than average because of it. And I think because there's a catalyzation factor. If the defenseman, they had somebody who could really light it up, it would juice up the forwards. It would make their jobs a lot easier. They transport the puck fairly well, and I think their structure was so strong in the beginning. You could go above that because it created defense. I mean, it created offense. Their structure. Now it's kind of eroded to the point where you're just relying on guys to make plays and play well together. And you notice it's like musical chairs. They've had so many different combinations. And a lot of it centers around the middle of the ice where they just don't have the quality. It's an average offense, and and in large part they're an average team because of it. I mean, the largest factor really is the backup goaltender just being awful. But the second part of it is they just can't generate because their centers are just third line level and below.
It's funny that you mentioned that because you mentioned something a little earlier that you were talking about how certain things compound, especially for a team like the Flyers, where if they were, say, even 20th ranked in the power play, right? That means they would be scoring a few more goals. They would be potentially winning a few more games, not going to overtime for certain games, potentially things of that nature. I mean, it's real easy to do the math. It's real easy to do the numbers. You score more power play goals, you win more games. What? It's pretty simple. It's pretty basic. You score more goals, you win more games. It's pretty simple. It's pretty basic. You know what I mean? So that's what I'm talking about as far as it compounding.
Well, I
The
think it goes
defense.
deeper. I think it goes deeper. You know why? Because a lot of times, not all the time, but a lot of times, you generate power plays because of pressure and momentum. And then if you
Yes.
follow up that momentum by scoring on a power play, then it makes the other team more tentative. It makes them not, more risk averse. It all compounds on each other, to use that word. And this, none of this exists because your power play stinks. So that's a whole area of exploration, or area for improvement that would change, because hockey is a game of momentum, peaks
It's
and
like you're taking
valleys.
the words out of my mouth, man. You're beating me to the punch here, bro. Like that, that's exactly because that's what I wanted to say about how this all compounds together.
Yes, yes.
And everything feeds off of one thing. The, people don't real. It's like that in sports, especially a team sport. All you have to do is watch any hockey game, any football game, any basketball game, any soccer game. You know what I mean? And the team that has momentum, the team that's carrying the play up on their skates, up doing, you get what I'm saying here, right? That's the kind of thing that leads to now the other team, the opposition's making mistakes in their end because you're pressuring. And when they make mistakes, now suddenly you're on the power play. Hey, you're up a man. Hey, man, you put a goal in. Now that makes that team a little bit more leery now that, man, we better not be putting too many guys in the box now because they're going to start scoring on the power play. Well, we can't be having that, right? And you can't just see the parade back and forth to the penalty box, right? So, I mean, all this stuff combines, all this stuff, right? Now, I'm going to ask you this one. This wasn't on our outline.
Mhm.
Give me an assessment of the coaching.
Uh, well, that's really tough. I think Rick Tockett has done a pretty good job. That when it's been several coaches with the power play, and nobody seems to be able to figure it out, even with an improvement in personnel, like adding Zegras and allowing for Michkov to be just not even really showing up this year the way he should have. I, I would give him a C plus.
Okay.
The guy I'm most worried about right now is I mean, just to take it a little more from a, I guess, macro point of view. I'm worried about Dillaball. He's been here for a long time.
Oh, dude.
We've had some real
Yeah.
failures in goal. I think he should be looking over his shoulder. And the guy who's been running the draft since 2019, Brent Flair. I mean, since listen, I've seen enough.
Preaching the choir.
Yeah. So what I think really with that is, if you're taking the Flyers approach, which is more of a depth approach, you and you're not going to get as many shots at top 10 picks. You got to draft. Like he said,
You
I
got
would
to
say
hit.
they're average drafters. You need to be better than average. You
Yeah.
need to have some second and third round finds, and you can't whiff on a first round pick. You can't say we won a second round draft pick. We're going to pass on Konsta Helenas and we're going to draft Jetlachenko, who I've not seen anything that says anything more than a third line player, right? If that. And I think it's a problem. So it all redounds back to the point that everything here is just kind of average. They have to add talent, and it has to all come together. So I'd say if there are leaks in the ship, I would give the coaching staff a little grace, except for Dillabo. He's been here a long time, and maybe give him credit for Vladar, and you could say, well, that's a positive. But it's just been too many times guys have just
Yeah,
like fallen off a cliff,
yeah.
and it's
Like,
not like yeah, I don't know. And Brent Flair is to me after this last draft with apparently Nesbitt going backwards, and of course we all know that Lachenko's had a bad year, and look, so you can't. The Bucks got to stop somewhere, and then it starts, of course, in 19 with taking Cam York and passing on Caulfield and Matt Boldy. So
yeah.
I think
Hmm.
there's enough mistakes here that even when they got it right, Mitchkov, like like that was like that's good. They liked the player, and that was like I think they went above the scouts for that because everybody thought that there was a risk involved, and that's kind of like on Danny. But give Brent Flair some credit for that. And then Forster is like their only real find where they got a player who has outperformed his draft position. I'd say Gauthier, regardless of what happened afterwards, he was a chalk pick.
Yeah.
It was either him or Yuracek in the minds of many of those back in 22. But other than that, their drafting's just not been good enough.
No.
That's a problem. So, but the coaching staff, I would say a C or a C plus. Dillaball should be looking over his shoulder, and Brent Flair as well.
I really thought that he was going to be let go when Tortorella was canned. I really felt he dropped the ball with Ivan Fedotov because he had a whole summer to work with him and he came out and stunk it up to come out and play and he had a whole summer to work with him. Do you know what I mean? And how do you not have your goaltender ready to go when you have a whole summer to work with him, right? Somebody of Ivan Fedotov like that, you know what I mean, who needs the coaching, who needs to get, coached up to learn how to play in the league and you totally dropped the ball on that, man. You know what I'm saying? So I'm with you on that. I'm also with you on the drafting. There have been at least 5 or 6 players that the Flyers that they could have drafted that are now biting them in the hiney. Okay, that are playing for other teams that are now showing out, that are even playing well in their junior teams, and the draft picks that we have aren't. Okay, so I agree. I thought that he was going to go uh oh gosh, who was the guy before Danny Briere?
Chuck Fletcher.
Yeah, I when Chuck Fletcher was gone, I thought for sure that Brent was going to go too, and Danny was going to bring in a new guy, but no, he kept him, and I really felt that that was a mistake. Okay, honestly. Okay, so I agree with everything that you're saying, dude. 100%. All day long. I agree with you 100% all day long. I like the fact that Danny Briere is coming out with a plan, but there have been some good things and there have kind of been some missteps, and that's I can kind of take that to a certain extent, but my philosophy is going to always be and remain this: you cannot rebuild and win now. You can't do them in the same. You have to rebuild so that you can win now. Uh, am I making sense or am I just being
Well,
crazy?
I mean, you can do a rebuild on the fly. It's just lower percentage, like St. Louis has been doing that for years, right? So
Okay, well, okay, but
they've
St.
never
Louis
really
has had some kind of success. They've
right.
made the playoffs. They've made the Stanley Cup, right? They've had some kind of success, right?
That would probably be the model, right? And we talked about on our last show with Jason Martinez. It's the St. Louis model. It's the Vegas Golden Knights model from year one. Of course, they didn't have they only had that crazy once in a lifetime expansion draft. So the Flyers have to make up that for that. Like I said earlier, with way better than average drafting. You have to you just have to go look. I'm okay for swinging for big talent, but you don't swing for a project. Jet Lachenko can escape real fast. He'll get to the right spot, but he doesn't know what to do when he's there. That's a problem,
Right, right.
right? Jack Nesbitt has projects written all over him, and it
Yeah,
may be a fine, but it's like what is he going to be? Like a Martin Hansel kind of player, tough to
yeah,
play against, and he'll be a third line guy. The Flyers have cornered the market on third line centers. Some can skate fast, some are tough to play against, big tough guys, but they don't have any second or first line talent at center, and it's a crusher. And they need a first pair of defensemen, and they haven't had one really since Provorov kind of was cosplaying
well,
they passed on Werenski. Look, I'm not going to kill him for that. Provorov has had a nice career. Werenski has an outside chance of being a Hall of Famer.
yeah,
So
yeah.
it's a possibility. So
I'm with you.
I don't know. I don't know. This if you look at their drafts and you could do this on any team. Oh, they should have taken this guy. Oh, they should have taken that guy. I get it. But if they just made a different pick in like two or three different instances, that we'd be having a totally different conversation. When they trade for Ristolainen and where they picked, I think Buffalo picked this guy, Ishak Wazan. Well, just several spots below that is like Wyatt Johnson. Now,
Yeah,
would the Flyers have taken Wyatt Johnson? I don't know. But if they
right.
had a guy like that, it's a game changer. If they drafted
Yeah,
Aho instead of Konechny, game changer.
yeah.
It's just a couple. It's not crazy to say, yeah, a couple, two or three different choices where they could have had a player, and you could miss on a couple. But those, where you improve upon what was good to make even better, you got a different situation. And the Flyers are out there, they're players for Quinn Hughes. You know what I'm saying? None of this is possible because they're too far down and they don't have the ammunition. And the draft
Exactly.
capital, I think they've squandered last year. They
Yep.
went, yeah,
Thank you. Thank you. I agree with you 100%. I agree with you 110%, man. They had an opportunity to make a significant move in the draft, and there were significant players that they could have taken and could have gotten or traded up for. And
one
I
spot for Sam Dickinson the year they took Jet. They knew the player inside out. He was Bonk's partner. So pony up. If you like the kid and you need a number one defenseman,
and he was a London Knight.
I know. That's what I mean. I mean, it's
What?
just, it's crazy.
I
So
don't get
I've
it.
gone, yeah, I've probably driven people crazy watching my show. I said, well, listen, I understand that usually don't move up in the draft, but this was one spot.
I
I mean,
agree.
it's not asking too much to go to 12 or whatever it was. I think they
I
traded
agree.
down, so I kind of
Yeah.
lost track of where they were to move up to 11 or whatever they would have taken. But San Jose swoops in there, and there you go. You have San Jose, Anaheim, and Chicago have bright futures. They have to be managed properly, and the culture here is better than those places. But winning solves a lot of problems, and talent is the best way to start winning.
You heard it here first, folks. I mean, look, this is why I have so much respect for what O&B Puck does, for what you guys talk about, for all the things that you guys point out, for the reasons why you have the guests that you do, and the reasons why you guys talk about the things you do, right? Y'all get it, right? Y'all understand what's going on here. There's a lot of things that could be done to this team that we're not asking for this team to do any kind of major changes, but it's just like you said, man. One or two different decisions could make this team a much different team, right? And everybody's like, "Oh yeah, hindsight's 2020." Yeah, okay, I get it, but if you're out there doing your homework and you're looking at these drafted guys and these guys that are coming up for the draft, and you're missing on these first round guys and second round guys, when you're picking where you're picking, that's not going to help you win many games because you're not putting a lot of talent on your team. Okay. And the Porter Martone draft, hey, that's a good draft, man. That was a kid that he's worth the ink. All right.
He is, but they've drafted their way into a center problem. You could have easily justified taking James Higgins. He said, "Well, we got a second line center. Now, we got tons of wingers. Look, I like Porter Martin. In fact, I might even love the kid, but
Yeah.
they don't have any centers.
Yeah.
So it's
That's who
like
I thought. Yeah.
I know you have Russell and you have a show with him, and Russ thinks they should have taken Higgins if I recall correctly, and
I believe so. Yeah.
yeah,
Yeah.
and
Yeah. Yeah.
he likes Martone, but I mean, there's a time to take Martone. If he's that much better than Higgins, I guess you got to take him. But if you don't have any centers and you've flubbed up a couple picks, look that they're going to have to pay through the nose, and then you might have to give up a Martone to get a center. And now what do you go? Why don't you just draft Higgins and not have to give up anything? Just wait for the kid to develop, and you got yourself at least a second line center. Of course, they might not think he can play center. I look, he's going to be a top six player. I don't think there's
All day
any doubt
long.
about it. I think he'll
All
play
day
center.
long. All
Yeah.
day long. All day long. I think that's who I had selected for the Flyers was Higgins. I mean, there was a couple of guys I would have put in that slot either way. I don't care. I had to pick anybody. You know what I mean? I
Uh,
really thought that Jackson Smith would have been a really good selection there for the Flyers. I mean, I really thought he could have been. But hey, what do I know?
yeah.
I
Well,
only have a
I
show
think
called
Martone is
Prospect
probably.
Watch.
Yeah, I mean, I know you got the show, and I could see Jackson Smith. I can understand why Martone is the play. Because Martone could be like a Kachuk light, and that's a rare player. That's a really good player, and we don't
Yeah,
know if he'll achieve that. But Higgins to me is where I'd lean in because you have a center problem. He is so close to Martone in terms of quality and
yeah,
upside
yeah,
that I just got to do it because the center is you could say Martone is a 9 and Higgins is an 8, but then you add in the center factor. He plays a more valuable position.
there you go. And that's exactly what's going on here, folks. And that's why I wanted to talk to you about this. That's why I wanted to get your take on this. I just wanted to just kind of get it out there and put it out there for everybody. And man, I got to tell you, man, it's always great when I get to talk to you. It's always great when I get to have the O&B Puckcast guys. Any one of yous. I don't care who it is or which one of yous. I don't really care because it's all no, but it's all good. I like having the main man Isaiah here for sure. Thank you very much, sir, for joining and hopping on here and doing this, man. I really appreciate it. Why don't you tell the folks where we can get all of the great shows from O&B Puck?
Oh yeah, I appreciate you having me on. We can be found on X and Blue Sky at O&B Puck at O&B Puck, and you can find us on all the popular podcast platforms: Apple, Spotify, iHeart, TuneIn. We have a YouTube channel. Just plug in there, O&B Puck. We're on Facebook. We do most of our stuff on X, to be honest. We do fly over to some of the other platforms and yeah, we generally do a show every week. We have our latest shows with Jason Martinez.
Yep.
And you can go YouTube, check that out, or like I said, the other podcast platforms. And we have a tentatively scheduled this coming Monday with Anthony Mingioni with an appearance by Anthony DeMarco from Daily
Ooh,
Faceoff.
ooh, there you go. And also, don't forget to check O&B Puckcast out through Hockey Hot Stove. Make sure you check those guys out through there too, man. Um, for sure, for sure. And also, don't forget that the O&B Puckcast is one of the top-rated Philadelphia Flyers, all of Philadelphia Flyers podcasts in the top 10. And Hockey Writers Inc. is ranked 11th on that list.
There
So
you go.
thank you all very much for that, man. Really appreciate you guys hitting that like and subscribe button, man. That really helps us out. Also, would like to say big thanks to Jake and the boys. Hop on over to lowercaseblues.net. That's lowercaseblues.net. Got to check them guys out, man. They provide the opening sequence music here. If you are in the Delmarva area, you got to go check these guys out, man. They've got some of the greatest music going. Check out their website, lowercaseblues.net. Check out their swag. They got some tour dates coming up and also some videos. Check out all that stuff there at lowercaseblues.net. Thank you very much for Jake and Du Bois for providing the music. Thank you all out there very much for all you do and for getting us ranked in the top 11 of all Philadelphia Flyers podcasts. You can check us out on X at HCKY Writers Inc., or you can find me at RNJ underscore media. We will catch you all on the next episode of the Hockey Writers Inc.